Sorry for those of you who was a part of the last live and I said I was on mute, but thank y'all for letting me know I was on mute. I really appreciate that. So let me check my volume now, make sure we're good to go. Volume now, make sure. We ready, we rolling, baby. All right. So I'm gonna give it about another minute before we go into it. And I want y'all to chime in, let me know if I'm tripping or maybe I got this wrong, or I definitely am in the minority. I'll tell you that as I look at this conversation, and I'm used to that. So that's a normal day for me. And we're gonna give it probably another 45 seconds for people to roll in and want to come in and leave any comments. Tell me what y'all and your perspective on this. We're not gonna take all day either. We're gonna roll through this. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe if you receive any value out of this or any of my previous videos as well. All right, let's kick it off. So it's your tech homeboy, and I appreciate y'all for joining this live. If you're on the Pacific Coast, San Diego Bay, Seattle, Tacoma, wherever you at, this is your lunchtime. So let's chop it up during lunchtime. Before we go into the video, though, let me let you a little bit know. Let me let y'all know a little bit about myself. Right, I have a son. I have a 2.5-year-old son. I'm married, and I'm a technology professional. And I haven't always been a technology professional, so I've been to interviews. I've, I have children or a kid. So when I speak about this, I'm not speaking about someone who doesn't understand, or at least sympathize a little bit about, or empathize rather a little bit about making hard choices and going to interviews and making these hard choices. So I'm definitely have never been in this kind of desperate situation, but that's a perspective I'm speaking from when I talk about this. So I'm not just speaking from a random perspective of some single guy with no kids and no responsibilities. No, this is from the perspective of a dad and a husband, right? And a hustler as well. So as you hear my opinions about this, just think about that. This is a young father, a young husband that's speaking about this. And if you are here to be ugly or to be messy or to be, we're not here for that. This is not that kind of channel. We're here to go over like solutions and to be a little funny. And this can hopefully this can help somebody. So there's 9 people going live with us. We're gonna get it started. Let me know what part of the town y'all from, so that I can kind of understand who I'm talking to, who I'm engaging with in chat. Let me know what part of the country you're in, what part of the world you're in. And I'm gonna put this phone down because I'm kind of tired of it moving, right? I'm sure y'all are too. All right. So this guy in Augusta, Georgia, you can look up the story. If you don't know the story, I can put it in the chat if you want me to. What's up, sus among us? He he was arrested for basically neglecting his kids during a job interview. And I seen it on my Facebook, and I was like, dang, this is a familiar story we've heard. And again, this is not about judgment or shaming. This is about like accountability, prevention, solutions, okay? So we're not here to just make fun of this guy, but he left his kids, and the ultimate thesis, even if you're gonna leave in the next 30 seconds, the only thing or the thesis I want to explain is that don't put yourself in these tough situations that force you to make tough decisions. This is ultimately what this guy had to do with. He had to make a very hard, tough decision because he was in a very tough situation. And so we're talking about doing too little too late. And I believe that this guy received a lot of praise and support for doing too little and doing it too late. And so again, this is not a new headline. This is a guy, he's 24 years old. He has 3 kids. He's in Augusta, Georgia. Shout out to Georgia. And he left his kids at a McDonald's playhouse and left to a job interview. Now, this interview wasn't at McDonald's. That's a whole that I probably wouldn't even do this if the interview was at McDonald's, but this interview was somewhere else. So he left his 3 kids, the ages of 10 years old, 6 years old, and 1 years old. Now I have a 2.5 years old, okay? And the outcome is that, someone called the police after seeing the kids leave. They left the restaurant and then they came back to the playhouse, and someone was like, man, hold on, these kids are unattended. No one's watching these kids. And he returned, and apparently they had I'm assuming the baby mama pick up the kids, and then he was arrested for child neglect. Okay, so you can easily find that story if you want to. Just Google Augusta, Georgia man interview. I'm sure it'll come up. If y'all need me to send the link, let me know. And so as a father of a 2.5-year-old, I can't imagine leaving my 2.5-year-old anywhere alone. I definitely can't imagine leaving a 1-year-old alone. I mean, I have many nieces and nephews, but I have an 11-year-old niece. I have like a 12-year-old nephew as well. Or rather, I have like 2 11-year-old nieces. I have like 10-year-old niece. They all pretty much like within a year or 2 apart. And I went to one of their volleyball games, and I went to one of my nephews. My nephew was like 7, 6 or 7. And his older sister was there, who was like 11 or 12 or something. And she was having trouble watching my almost 3-year-old. I can't imagine leaving a 1-year-old with a 6 and 10-year-old. I just can't imagine even doing that. And if y'all have kids, could you imagine leaving your 1-year-old with any of your children? For a moment? I mean, not even to go to the restroom, but definitely not to go to a full interview in a completely different location. So this is not a new storyline. We've seen this before. And the reaction that I saw from the community was mostly support. There was many different takes, like we should have services to support fathers like this, or this guy tried really hard, or some people like, I'm sure he called the baby mama, or he was trying to do better, or it's just a playground, or I'm sure the interviewer would have allowed him to bring the kids. And I kind of want to take some time real quick to go through kind of each defense in terms of trying to do better. This is a 24-year-old with a 10-year-old. A lot of questions there, right? But 24-year-old with a 10-year-old trying to do better, maybe, but not early enough, right? It's just a playground. It's so odd to see people say it's just a playground, because most people don't even let their kids walk to school. And there's supposed to be this concern of kids being kidnapped, and we're saying it's okay for a 1-year-old. I don't know, man. I I don't know. Some people say he should have been allowed to bring his kids. And I've been on that end before as someone who has had to hire people who wanted to bring their kids to work, or their baby mama to sit in the car. And I'm gonna be 100% honest. Just like this guy left his kids in McDonald's to go to an interview, I've had to deal with other black men, and it's mainly black men, who always come with some kind of preface about their kids or their baby mama, whether it's having access to the car, whether it's picking up a kid, whether it's picking up the baby mama with the car. Like, this is like a constant issue I've had to run across as somebody who is intentional about who I hire and who I work with. And now and in the past, right? So I've seen this situation before where guys are having to make tough decisions when it comes to their kids and their baby mama, and It's just, you know, a situation that probably could have been avoided in the first place. And that's really going to be the ultimate thesis of this video. And we're going to get into that because I know a lot of you are like, well, he's 24, he had a 10-year-old. You can't really blame a kid for having a kid, basically, and being behind the 8 ball. Like, what is he supposed to do? We're punishing him. You know, we're going to go through all of this stuff pretty methodically. So, you know, sympathy does not fix poor planning at the end of the day. Like, we can't be excused to neglect our kids. You know, we cannot be excused to neglect our kids in order for us to make a positive decision to impact our kids. Like, you can never neglect your kids. Like, there's, uh, there's no output that's going to be worth neglecting or abandoning your kids, right? So there's nothing that's worth that. So I do have personal experience in working with, like I said, mostly black men who have to make these tough decisions. Like, do I bring my baby mama to work? I've even worked with guys who had their kid in the car while we work. And so it's like, why'd you bring your kid? Why'd you bring baby mama? And these guys, they think that's just the best decision for the cars that they're dealt with. So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe this. Have this conversation. If y'all have ever managed or dealt with people who they had to bring their kids to work, like you might be in the construction industry, you might be in the logistics industry, and you're like, why is your baby mama with you, bro? Like, what's going on? Like, we're here to work. And a lot of those people, they have a pattern of expecting others to accommodate their personal chaos, their personal crazy situation that's going on in their life. They want you to stop and change your whole operation to accommodate them. This whole business that you've dreamed and lost money about and lost so much sleep about, they want you to now pause and do and take on more risk and pause everything and how you operate your business for them. They bring the drama to the interviews, they bring it to the jobs, they bring it to the projects. They think their situation is unique. And because of that, they want you to stop everything that's going on and stop your system that's worked for you to accommodate them to bring their baby or their baby mama into the house while you guys complete a packing and a moving job, right? I've been here. And so we got to kind of ask the hard questions, like, how's a 24-year-old, assuming that he's the biological father, how's he a 24-year-old with a 10-year-old? And then after you have the 10-year-old, why did y'all continue to have kids after that? Assuming that the mother who picked them up is a baby mother. Why? And he's not the only person that's guilty of this. We have a lot of people that add to a life as opposed to pouring into the current life, as opposed to pouring into the current life that they're part of. So you have 2 kids and you're barely providing for them, and you decide to have a 3rd kid. We need to pour into the people who are in our lives and not be trying to find some escape or not trying to add a life into this world. We need to pour into what's in front of us, right? If you are, I ain't gonna get into that, right? So why create new when you haven't poured into what's already here? Why go out and seek new opportunities, new friends, when you have friends and opportunities in front of you who have who are benefiting your life and pouring into you already? You need to be doubling down into those people. You need to be doubling down into your situation that makes it worse. And, you know, using that analogy, you need to be doubling down and pouring into the people who are in your life now, who are your kids. You don't need to go on and add new life or you know, succumb to baby fever or something like that. So, you know, the kid is 24-year-old, assuming he's a biological father of the 3 kids. Come on, man. It's just not the best judgment. Not the best judgment. And, you know, I'm sure I have a lot of men listen to this. You know, I'm 34 years old, so I do speak to a lot of guys who are younger than me. And, you know, we have these conversations. And a lot of times I hear people say the reason why they got their girl pregnant because they thought she was on birth control. Now, most men don't even know how birth control works or the different options that are under birth control. But even if she told you she was on birth control, this is my advice to you, young man. If you're dealing with a girl or a woman who says that she's on birth control and you decide to have sex with her unprotected and y'all have a baby, it's still your fault. Because ultimately, what you did was put something so precious and so critical and so significant, which is a life, in somebody else's hands. You absolved all responsibility, and you said, hey, this person I met 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago, this person said they're on birth control. And so I don't need to have protected sex with them. I'm just going to raw dog it, and I'm going to finish in them, and we're going to have this baby. You know, that's the risk you're taking when you let another woman tell you that she's on birth control, because you can easily forget to use birth control and then it become ineffective. Every female can tell you that. So don't let the the decision of someone having kids, rather, don't let the possibility of someone having kids be put in their hands. You, both of y'all have the responsibility. You can wear a condom, she can wear birth control, and you don't want to put that option or that decision into someone else's hand, especially someone who you don't know, you don't have a close relationship with. There's so many guys who have impregnated a girl and known them for 2 weeks, talking about, well, she said she's on birth control. And so that is the reason why you're just gonna lift up your hands and do whatever, and whatever result comes in you raw dogging it, that's the result. That's not a life worth living, and that's not the best life. That's not the best life. So the whole myth of she was on birth control, don't even allow that to impact your judgment. You control it, and you can decide. And you wouldn't jump out of a plane and trust a parachute you don't pack. Like, would you jump out of a plane and trust a parachute you don't pack? Like, you're probably not going to. Well, I don't skydive though, so I don't even know. Do y'all guys pack your own parachutes, or do you buy it from somebody else? I don't know. I don't know. I don't roller coaster either. Like, I'm not gonna be on a roller coaster and letting somebody else control my destiny. Like, I just can't do it. I'm sorry. It can't happen. All right. And so another question we have to ask is, like, where's the support? Where's the extended family to watch, one or two kids? Maybe they could watch the 1 year old, and the 6 and 10 year old would be at the playhouse, and that's not as noticeable. It's very noticeable for a 1 year old to be left alone. All right. So where's the extended family? Like, it's just so many times, and I'm not attributing this to this guy. So many times we get into a relationship, we isolate ourselves, or we get into a situation where we isolate ourselves, and then when it's time to receive help, we're like, how come people are not jumping to help me? And it's because it's like, people are not jumping to help you because you don't have community, you're not in any social organizations, you've isolated yourself. And I can't imagine having 3 kids in Augusta, Georgia, and they called the woman, and the woman came to pick up the kids. So she had to, I'm assuming she's partially available. Some people are suggesting that maybe it was his weekend of custody, but assuming he was unemployed, you you can't have custody if you're unemployed. The judge is not going to be like, okay, let's give you 50-50 custody, and you haven't worked. Like, I don't know. Maybe the guy just became unemployed and he went out to get an interview, and this was a part of his weekend of having the kids. Regardless of the case, you do not leave a 1 year old unattended for any reason. It's just no excuse. You pass up the interview. You reschedule the interview. You get somebody to watch that 1 year old. Maybe you leave that 10 and 6 year old alone with the phone. Maybe I'm even willing to hear that out. But at the end of the day, where's the extended family? Where's the church? Where's the community? Where's the social organizations? And yeah, you can reschedule it for your day off. Somebody said day off. Someone's saying not 50-50, but it still has his weekends or days, even if he only has visitation. Yeah. I don't see the judge giving somebody unemployed 50-50. But if it's a recent unemployment, maybe he does have 50-50. But regardless, you go on this interview on your day off, you don't risk that. And I thank goodness he wasn't interviewing at McDonald's, because that just would have been even more crazy to know that you left your kids somewhere else to interview at McDonald's. So that would have been interesting. But if you would have left your kids in the playhouse while you were interviewing at McDonald's, I'm sure you can tell the employer, like, yo, my kids are in the playhouse. It's a 1 year old. Like, yo, like, I don't know, maybe. But like I said, I've dealt with situations where guys come to work with their kid and they want you to pause your operations because they have a kid or they have a baby mama or something, and it's like that's not how life works. I'll end up like you if I operate in my life that way. So we have to stop this pattern of isolation of like until we need help, then we want to call out for help. And then like when people don't help immediately at the snap of your wrist, then it's like, oh, nobody supports me. So we need to do better at fostering relationships and community consistently, right? And I know that one of the criticisms of my argument and my mindset, I guess, because I've had this conversation with people, is that foster care is worse, right? You know, if he's arrested or the mom is arrested, not only in this situation, but any situation, but that these people can end up in the children can end up in foster care, which is worse. And, you know, I think the data will support that, the outcomes are not the best and that the data of abuse is high, for the kids that are in foster care. Um, but we don't know the condition of those kids or the lifestyle of those kids or the quality of life, rather, of those kids currently at the present moment. So we don't know if they're being abused now, honestly. Obviously they're being abused if they're being neglected now, but we don't know what their life is under his roof or the girl's roof. So maybe them going to foster care, finding other parents might be the better solution, or finding other guardians might be the better solution. Despite the data of the outcomes of those kids, trust me, I know I've had this conversation a lot, but I just I just don't imagine that care is that well for a parent who's willing to leave their 1 year old. Mm-mm. I can't imagine it. I don't imagine there being worse care than that. Okay. So this moment may have unseen beneficiaries because there are people who will hear about this case, look at this case, and they're like, well, I'm not going to do this, whether it's neglecting your kids or even having kids in the first place when you're not prepared. Is like, yo, I'm not even going to get into the situation because I heard about this dude who was arrested. And, you know, I don't know. I don't have all the solutions. I don't have all the answers, guys. That's not what I'm here for. But I will say that the only solution I can think about is fostering relationships early on so you can lean on your community for support. I also know that getting a skill, having a skill, and a skill doesn't have to be like a technical certification. It can be cleaning. It can be, detailing a car. It can be packing and moving the house. Like any skill you have to attain to put you in a better position where you're not stuck having to interview in such a dire situation where you have to leave your 3 kids. There's no way you convince me that he has a skill that the economy is willing to pay for when he's willing to leave his 1 year old for some job interview. To me, that spells out somebody who doesn't have a lot of options, doesn't have a lot of choice. All right, and that brings me to the thesis of this whole video, guys, is don't put yourself in situations that force tough decisions. You got to prevent the pressure before it builds. And that is what I ultimately made this video for, is that I saw people praising him for what he did or wanting to sympathize with him and not actually seeing that what he's doing is too little too late. It is too little too late. He was willing to sacrifice his kids, literally sacrifice his kids for a potentially better future. And you have to build before you multiply. You have to understand your decisions today affect your children tomorrow, right? Even though I think that says that in the Bible, right? The sins of the father will visit the kids. And you got to think about planting seeds that you're not ready to water. Like we are we are in 100% control of planting seeds. Nobody's forcing us to plant seeds. Adatiba says, foster them before you need them. Yeah, your relationships. Roland says, as a black man dealing with the court system, I'm at my ends with it all. Yeah, tell us more about it, Roland. Tell us how you're dealing with it. And are you trying to get custody? You trying to get half custody? Are you trying to get 50-50 custody, 100% custody? And tell us how the judge is dealing with you, and let us know if you're fully employed as well. I know that makes a big part of who has custody. But tell us about how it's driving you at wit's end and some of the issues you're dealing with, because we may have some ways to relate it to this guy. And so, Roland kind of rolled into my last part of this conversation is like, what would you have done, and what is your take? You know, would you have left your kids, given your situation, for an interview? Or have you ever even thought about that? Or have you ever been in such a dire situation where you have to even think about doing that? I'm really interested in everyone's take. Um, and I hope that you guys share this to any young man that, the decisions we make today affect your children's tomorrow. And that we have to decide about our sexual health. Do we want to trust the woman who says she's on birth control, who may have missed taking 2 days of her birth control, so now she's back, in the swing of things? Or do we want to take control of our own destiny and strap up, man? We can do that ourselves, man. No one's forcing us to do that. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if I'm tripping. I may share a link of the story. And again, we're not here to be ugly. We're not here to be messy and negative and stuff. There's plenty of content out here for that. We're here to talk about solutions and accountability. So thank y'all for tuning in, and go enjoy your lunch if you're on the Pacific Coast. Peace out.